I thought I'd make a video just because typing everything out may not necessarily convey all of the information that seeing things visually would do. So I just recently ordered and received some new equipment, and I thought I would kind of provide a side-by-side comparison between the Yongnuo speedlight transmitter. This is the Yongnuo version of the Canon STE3RT, which I have here. I haven't even unboxed it yet, so I haven't seen it. And I also ordered 3 of these. This is the Yongnuo version of the Canon flash, the 600EX-RT II. This is a MagMod grip on the outside of this, so it doesn't normally have that on the outside. It's just a bare flash, but it's a pain in the butt to get back on, so I didn't take it off. So that's one of these. I currently have one mounted right here. I've done some very quick preliminary tests just to check compatibility, because I know there's been some issues with the 5D Mark IV, the 5DS, the 5DSR. So I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. As far as I can tell, they are completely compatible. Haven't had any issues with the 5DS or the 5D Mark IV. This is the 5DS, and I'm filming on the 5D Mark IV. So anyway, I guess I made some notes because I'm not a gear reviewer. So I made some notes to kind of go by, so my apologies if this is kind of amateurish, but again, hopefully it's helpful. So again, I've already unboxed one of these, but I'll kind of run through it real quick with you so that you can see. I hate unboxing videos, but the only time I actually find them useful is when I'm selling something. I always like to package it back up as best as possible like it was. Just kind of a nice thing for the buyer. So it's definitely a different box than what Canon does, so Yongnuo did not clone that. So inside you've got like a little sticker type thing that shows the date of production. This is January 3rd, 2017. I believe I saw somewhere that the Yongnuo 600EX-RT, if it was manufactured after the middle of last year, 2016, then compatibility was guaranteed, and it did not need a firmware update to work with the 5D Mark IV. So I would assume, even before testing it, that this would work, and it did. But inside the box you got that sticker, you have the manual, and that's it. You got some bubble wrap for the case, which is unnecessary but nice. Case similar to the Canon cases. It's got a different texture, different feel, definitely different shape to it as well. If you've seen the 600EX-RT II case, it's like wide because it's got some filters and some other things in there. And if I remember correctly, I believe the flash comes already sitting over. So anyway, inside the case you've got the flash itself, and you've got the foot inside plastic. Let's see. One thing you'll notice is the Canon foot is pretty premium feeling, which is weird for a piece of plastic. The Yongnuo foot, it's a little cheapish feeling. I don't know if that's going to make any real world difference or not, but it's there. So there's a little twist tie around the plastic. Pop that open. Now a couple things in terms of differences between the Canon flash and the Yongnuo flash. The Canon flash, to move the flash head, there's a little button right here. You push that in, and then you can move the head. You also need to press it to rotate the flash as well. With the Yongnuo flash, it does not have a push button. You just kind of force it and rotate it. It has the same rotation as the 600EX-RT II, so it goes from 90 degrees straight up. It'll actually go to 0, and then it'll also even go to -7, which I think is nice because a lot of people will mount their speed lights, and especially if you're shooting through an umbrella, that additional -7 degrees will help get that flash closer to the center of the umbrella. So underneath it has those same type of, you can't really see them because of the MagMod grip, but it's got some little holes there. I believe that should be compatible with the diffuser and the CTOs that come with those. This does not come with any of those. You also have your standard diffuser panel and your reflector card there. Physically on the flash itself, I only noticed a couple of differences. One of which is that the set and select button, or select set button, actually rotates with the wheel. So that just turns over and over and over, whereas with the Canon flash it actually stays oriented properly the entire time and the wheel rotates around it. So that's one difference. Another is actually the weight difference between these. Actually, I take that back because this one has the Magnot on it. So they're probably about the same weight in the hand. They may be, different on a spec sheet, but they're basically the same. Also, there is a port here on the side of the Yongnuo flash that does not exist on the Canon. Well, there's a little cutout for it, but it doesn't actually open. I'm wondering if maybe that's just for Canon for servicing. But it's a micro USB port, and I remember on the Amazon listing seeing that this was firmware upgradable at home. So my guess is that's what that's for. You hook this up to your computer and you can upgrade the firmware if you need to. Otherwise, they're pretty much identical. Yeah. Oh, there is one other thing. The external metering sensor on the Canon is right here. It's that kind of little indented hole there, according to the Canon manual anyway. The Yongnuo does not have one. So I noticed some differences that I'll talk about in a little while that might be a result of that omission. But otherwise, they're extremely similar. Yeah, I've used it literally for a couple of minutes and they're basically the same. Oh, a couple of or one more thing. The lever, the lock here, with the Yongnuo, it slides incredibly easy. It feels like if you metal on metal, if you greased it, it just slides super easy. Whereas the Canon, it actually takes a little bit of effort to move it over. I mean, it's not substantial, but there's definitely a tactile difference with the Canon being more resistant to movement. The backs of the flashes are more or less the same, with the exception of some writing. On the Canon flash, the mode button actually says mode on it, whereas on the Yongnuo, mode is off to the side. Same thing with the flash button. Or no, yep, no, those are the same too. So again, I haven't spent a ton of time with this. I've just kind of glanced at it, but they more or less look the same. So kind of quickly scanning through my sheet here. There's two main reasons I bought the Yongnuo flash and transmitter when I already had Canon equipment. The first is the radio signal. So with the Canon STE3RT, this will transmit a signal about 100 feet to trigger flashes. Additionally, if you're using this as a master mounted onto the camera itself, same thing. It'll send the signal about 100 feet, and it sends it in all directions. So you could have flashes 200 feet apart; it should still trigger. With the Yongnuo, not only the flash but also the transmitter, which I'll go ahead and open while I'm talking, that will actually send a radio signal 100 meters, which is substantially longer. To kind of put it into perspective, an American football field, if you exclude one end zone, so include one and exclude the other, 300 meters will reach from one side of the football field to the end zone of the other, which is a huge difference. Whereas with the Canon flashes and the Canon transmitter, it will only do 100 feet. So it gets you to about, the 33-yard line, not including any end zones. So there's a massive difference there. And I think for a lot of people, that's not going to make any difference whatsoever. But in some cases, especially if you're using telephoto lenses and getting environmental portraits with them, 100 feet might not be enough. You might need something a little longer. So anyway, within the Yongnuo transmitter box, we've got another one of those quality control things. This was 6/28 of 16, so the middle of last year. And then I've got the manual itself and a little supplementary piece of paper. They're trying to sell triggers. So So that's the gist of what's in that box. Got your sync cable, and this looks very much like the Canon. Different feel to the material itself, but who cares? I certainly don't. Again, you got a twist tie around this. So, and this actually brings me to the second reason that I bought a Yongnuo transmitter versus a second Canon transmitter. It's this right here. You have an AF assist beam in this, whereas with the Canon, you do not. I don't know why Canon didn't include one. They're incredibly useful, but that is the entire reason that I bought this. Was the transmission of the wireless signal and the AF assist beam. So to me, that's a glaring omission from the Canon, which is several times more expensive than the Yongnuo. So otherwise, just kind of glancing at these from the outside, they look pretty much identical. Let's see if there's a difference in these switches. Yeah, here the switches feel basically the same. The Yongnuo also has the kind of the weather sealing rubber gasket around the mount, and yeah, otherwise they are identical. So I have not tested this, obviously, seeing as how I just opened it, but if it performs just like the Flash does, I can't imagine why it wouldn't be an excellent investment. So to me, a bonus, and this is something that everybody talks about, is the cost difference between these systems. I didn't have any issue ordering additional Canon flashes, another Canon trigger. It would have been, you know, luckily I'm in a position where I can do that, and it's, you know, it's not a problem. But again, the difference is the reason I chose the Yongnuo just really sold it for me. But to me, a bonus is that there is a substantial financial difference. In fact, I ordered all three of these Yongnuo flashes and the transmitter for less than the cost of one of these flashes. I mean, that's just kind of absurd when you think about the difference in cost overall. To me, what that allows for is duplication. So you can buy extra flashes, which is what I've done. I really only needed two. I bought three, just in case one fails. What it will also allow is some experimentation. It'll allow me to try some things with the flashes that I wouldn't have otherwise tried by having one additional flash, or in your case, if you want to buy more than one, you can buy, you know, 2, 3, 4 extra flashes for, you know, what you're going to be investing into the Canon flashes over here. I touched earlier on the compatibility with these systems. Just some quick walking around my house test shots. ETTL functioned perfectly. Didn't have any issues whatsoever. Tried it in a variety of situations. The only thing I noticed was that the exposure from the Yongnuo flash was a little bit brighter than the exposure from the Canon flash. And I mentioned earlier the lack of a external metering sensor in the Yongnuo. I'm wondering if that's why. Could be. So something certainly to be aware of. But if you notice that your shots are consistently overexposed with the flash, just dial it down with a little flash exposure compensation, or if you're shooting in manual, just dial back the manual power a bit. So let's see. I noticed that when you're using, I try to test all the various options when shooting in Scene Intelligent Auto, or the green box mode on the camera. If you set the Canon flash to manual and fire off a shot, or really actually as soon as you half press the shutter, it switches to ETTL. It will not maintain manual flash. However, with the Yongnuo, when you half press the shutter or even take a shot, it stays in manual. It doesn't, it's automatically switched to ETTL. So I think there's some compatibility issue there. However, I could see that it might actually be an advantage. You may want to stay in manual flash mode while in Scene Intelligent Auto, possibly. But again, it's not working as Canon would have intended. A couple other differences. The zoom mechanism, when you're zooming the flash itself, the flash head, The zoom mechanism is noticeably louder on the Yongnuo. It's not offensive, but it's noticeable. For me, I'm going to have these on light stands. Nobody's ever going to know. So it's not really an issue for me. Something else I noticed is that default out of the box, the Yongnuo flash makes a beeping sound whenever it flashes. Incredibly annoying sound. Luckily, you can turn it off. So you just go to, on the back, once you have the flash on, you go to, let's see, on menu 1, on the far right, or far left, excuse me, there's a zoom custom function, so you hit that button. Actually, you press it and hold it for the custom function menu to come up, and then you can just rotate the wheel until it gets to custom function menu 20. Press the select button, and then rotate the wheel again to turn it off, set it, and then just hit the back button, which will be over here on the far right, and then it's done. So you can thank me later. Let's see, other differences. Oh, again, I mentioned earlier that this doesn't have a release button. It just kind of goes forward. Same thing with rotation. And actually, I'm noticing in there now, you can actually see some of the lubrication material. You won't be able to see it, but I actually see some of the gooey stuff inside here, whereas with the Canon, I certainly have never noticed anything like that. Yeah, so definitely some build quality differences there. Fingers are all tacky now. But again, this just rotates without having a button release for it. One of the things I've noticed on the Canon flashes, when I have the mag mod, say the mag sphere or the mag bounce on top, if I'm running around and kind of whipping my camera around here and there, the force of doing that plus the weight of the mag mod on top will make the lens head fall forward, even without pressing the button. Hopefully it's not stripping it. With this, it takes a little more effort to move it forward, to make it fall down. I haven't tried the mag mod grips and attachments on top of this yet. It certainly got me wondering for the future if that's going to be an issue or not. Let's see. I believe that's about it as far as the differences that I noticed, and some of the thoughts that I had. So again, kind of to me, the summary is, yes, it's lesser build quality. It's a little tiny bit different functionally, but it works. And for the cost of one of these, you can get an entire system over here, which is just absurd to think about. And I haven't noticed any compatibility issues with the 5DS or the 5D Mark IV. So far, it seems to be working great. Feel free to ask any questions. I'll answer as best I can. I'm not an overly experienced flash user. I've used it at a couple of weddings and portrait sessions, that sort of thing. But I tend to kind of stick to minimal functionality. But yeah, everything seems to be working great so far. So hope this information was helpful. And again, feel free to ask any questions. I'll help as much as I can. Thanks.